President Buhari engages U.S. Secretary of State on relocation of Africa Command headquarters from Germany to Africa.
Senate calls for establishment of permanent security bases as House of Reps urges President Buhari to declare state of emergency on security.
And Information Minister Lai Mohammed trails the step for digital switchover, second phase rollout.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on stemming the tide of insecurity in Nigeria.
Well, you only need to peer through the dailies, whether online or offline. And of course, if you are a newspaper reader on ground as well, to see the barrage of reports on insecurity attacks here and there.
There's no question about that, Claire. I mean, Monday this week, that's the 26th of April, has been described in some quarters as Dark Monday. That's on account of the tally of incidents of attacks and fatalities arising from those attacks. And it appears now that there is no part of the country that is immune to those attacks. Northwest, north central, northeast, southeast, and of course the southwest.
Indeed, Kingsley, of course, we are confronted with, what we will call an upsurge of multi-dimensional insecurity threats, across the country. And they seem to be, happening by the day. There's no day that goes by you don't get to hear or read of reports of kidnapping, banditry, attacks, killings, across the different states of the Federation.
There's no question about that, Claire. And part of what we have seen, especially in the southeast, are stories of attacks on security personnel, police officers, military officers, as well as their formations and structures. It's also happened in the south side, particularly in Rivers, which led now to the imposition of restriction on movement into and out of Rivers effective midnight. There's a curfew, as it were, that if you can't get in before 8 p.m., stay out. And then, of course, you only be able to go out after 6 a.m. There have been all kinds of stories that we've had in all the 5 states of the southeast. Yesterday,
yes.
There was a report of an arson attack on the Federal High Court in Abakaliki.
And there was also an attack on a police station, I think at Oriago in Himemba also.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, as I said, we've had a series of stories related to attacks, sometimes fatal, on not just security officers, but also on their formations. We know what happened, of course, in Imo. The house of the governor, the country home of the governor, was touched by arsonists, and there were also fatalities in that incident, plus what happened earlier to the state police command headquarters. We also knew what happened to the correctional facility, all within the same vicinity. And by the way, Claire, the students who were abducted from Greenfield University in Kaduna, unfortunately, we are having to do a body count of those amongst them who have been killed by their kidnappers.
Yes, five of them also.
Yes, there were 3 of them that whose bodies were first discovered, and then 2 again were also discovered. So it's like, unfortunately, we are swimming in a river of human blood.
The one in Makurdi also baffles me. The abduction of the students who had gone to study at the auditorium. That's the University of Agriculture, Makurdi. Is also very, very disturbing. But again, I know you had discussed the issue of financing safe schools earlier on Good Morning Nigeria. If you look at some of those schools, they are remotely located, and then they are without appropriate, defense or safety mechanism, no, perimeter fencing and all that. So they are all exposed to, attacks, not just from bandits, community, hoodlums jump in and out of the universities, of the schools.
Well, Claire, if you recall, part of the appeal, if you like, for those relatively remote locations was that those locations will be serene for students and their lecturers, and they will have little distractions. I believe you set up a university in Midtown where there's a lot of distraction. Then, of course, you might have challenges with intrusion into the campuses. But those remote locations were intended to, as I indicated, to be a serene environment for you to study.
At the time, I mean,
but
the world is becoming dynamic, so you must also be dynamic in your thinking and approach.
I agree with you. There's no question about that. And I think that that's part of what they're doing now with regard to safe schools. Now, safe schools essentially related to, say, primary and secondary boarding schools. But now universities are also being targeted. And we talked about Greenfield University. We also talked about the Benue State, the University of Agriculture in Benue. But there's also another worrisome dimension to all of this. And I'm sure we heard what the governor of Niger State indicated this week, that thousands of villagers have fled their abode on account of the activities of bandits and kidnappers. And more worrisome, according to the governor, Boko Haram, he says, are now flying their flag in one of the communities, which is about 2 hours drive from Abuja.
You know, Kingsley, the one that happened just before we round off our banter, the one that happened at the IDP camp, that's along Macro de la Fier, road, is most pathetic. You begin to wonder what would be the prompt for the attack on an IDP camp, where you have already defenseless, helpless, and I don't know, citizens, vulnerable people.
That's right. Well, these are issues we will get our guests to respond to, and more particularly, what needs to be done at this time. We know that there's a great deal of analysis going on around as to what is happening, small and light arms, illegal in many hands, and of course, causing a great deal of havoc. It's also been said that, look, spend more money on security and intelligence, but what exactly do we need to do? So these are some of the issues, of course, we'll be raising with our guests in our conversation segment on the program today. So on that note, we'll welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria. I'm Kingsley Usadolo. And
there's also been, as we read this morning, discussions going on between the presidency and the U.S. on consideration of relocating the African, command from Germany to Africa. We'll see how our guests relate that with, efforts to stem the tide of insecurity in our country. Will that be an option? I am Claire Dilabo Abdul Razak. I join Kingsley to welcome you to the program. Again, it's live on our network service of the NTA. Our complimentary segments will be part of our show today, and that will include precisely newspaper review, business, and the other segments, probably sports. But for now, it's time to join Musbah Dan Wahab. We call him the professor for the news highlights. Good morning, Prof.
Claire, good morning. I'm very humbled this morning. Welcome to you, Venice. President Muhammadu Buhari has made a strong representation to the United States of America to consider relocating its Africa Command headquarters from Germany to Africa and indeed closer to the theater of operation in the battle against insecurity. Speaking at a virtual audience with the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, the president said this is desirable in view of a growing security challenges in West and Central Africa, Gulf of Guinea, Lake Chad region, and the Sahel.
Important and strategic partners like the United States cannot be overstated, as the consequences of insecurity will affect all nations, hence the imperative for cooperation and collaboration of all nations to overcome these challenges.
I also hope to discuss how we can build our economies back even better and stronger after the pandemic, growing them and making them more equitable.
Still from the State House, Governor Babagana Umar Zulum of Borno State has formally briefed President Muhammadu Buhari on the recent violent attacks in parts of the state by insurgents, describing the situation as disturbing. State House correspondent Tada Musambo reported that the governor, who was in the State House, gave a detailed account of the incident coming after some moments of respite in the security situation. Governor Zulum, who is also chairman of the Northeast Governors Forum, had told President Buhari that following renewed attacks, the traumatized residents of the affected areas fled their communities and called for urgent intervention by the federal government.
Know what is going on in the entire Northeast sub-region. I think there is a need for us to get support for us to succeed in this war against insurgents.
The governor therefore made a case for the federal government to work towards hastening delivery of equipment ordered for the Nigerian armed forces to enable them confront head-on the criminal element for the desired peace and stability to be restored in the area. Now, National Assembly is joining these voices, and Senate has called on Chief of Army Staff and the Inspector General of Police to enable permanent security bases in Niger East senatorial districts and other parts of the country plagued by activities of bandits and Boko Haram. The Senate also resolved that its leadership is to meet with President Muhammadu Buhari on the security situation in their country.
In Shiroro, Rafi, and Munya local government areas of Niger State, and has subjected the affected areas under serious survival threat.
In Niger North, Mariga local government is also in constant attack. We need to start now. Now.
We need to have supplementary budget to fund not only the recruitment of additional personnel, but also procurement of weapons and platforms.
Similarly, the House of Representatives has adopted an 11-point resolution in which it urged President Muhammadu Buhari to declare a state of emergency of the security sector to fast-track the restoration of peace across the country. The House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila read out the resolutions after a closed-door session.
Provide emergency relief to all communities that have been adversely affected by the recent attacks across the country. The House reiterates its commitment to the security and corporate existence of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and will therefore accelerate its engagement with stakeholders at a special security summit that is being organized by the House of Representatives.
Away from insecurity, Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo on Tuesday joined other leaders in Sierra Leone to mark the country's 60th Independence Day celebration. The Vice President, who represented President Muhammadu Buhari at the event, was received by Vice President Jode Jallow on arrival into the country before proceeding to join President Julius Maada Bio and several other heads of state and governments from Africa and beyond who were also attending the ceremony in Freetown.
Excellencies, heads of state, I take this opportunity to reaffirm my country's commitment to the pursuit and promotion of common African agenda through these and other multilateral institutions, including our leadership of the C10 and other processes.
Back in Nigeria, a journey into a shrine an unprecedented reform in the Nigerian broadcasting industry known as digital switchover is kickstarting a second phase of its rollout with a view to covering the entire country. This is an update by the Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed to the Senate Committee on Information and National Orientation.
The DSO is about creating jobs for our teeming population, especially the very creative youth population.
If you can include radio in your program or your activities, I think we'll be glad.
The Movement of Progressive Youth of Nigeria, one of the foremost support groups of the All Progressives Congress, is requesting the National Assembly to enact an act to pronounce corruption a capital offense to serve as deterrent to abusers of public funds. This was part of recommendations made at the end of the Progressives National Youth Leadership Colloquium in Abuja.
In an effort to ensure that the anti-corruption success is sustained, the youth must be considered as a strategic partner in the war against corruption.
For me, it starts from us, from where we work, what we do.
I've always believed that corruption is a byproduct of indiscipline.
A number of COVID-19 infections in Nigeria has returned to triple digits after a week as the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, confirmed 156 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. Lagos State tops the list of new infections with 50 cases, followed by Enugu State with 43, Adamawa 40. The FCT recorded 8 new cases, Ogun 5, Akwa Ibom and Plateau State have 3 cases apiece, while Jigawa, Kaduna, Oyo and Rivers State recorded a single case each. With this development, Nigeria has 164,912 confirmed cases of COVID-19, out of which 155,012 patients were treated and discharged, while 2,063 deaths were recorded. And that's the morning news highlights on Good Morning Nigeria. Now, what's the way out of this disturbing security challenge? That will be our focus on this program this morning. Claire and Kinsley are in charge after the break.
Nigeria joins the rest of the world in going digital. This means Nigeria is moving from analog terrestrial TV broadcasting to digital. Now, digital broadcasting gives you clearer pictures, crystal clear sound, and a chance for more channels and more shows to watch. Digital TV is a whole new experience for you and a rich harvest of digital development for the nation. Come aboard, Nigeria going digital.
Coming to Lagos now.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
If na one thing we are not like, na stubbornness so. Make you no near me or my family. Abi, you know they hear. I will deal with you drastically. I will deal with you protectively. Then finish you nutritionally. Because this golden moon cereal where we dey enjoy for breakfast, it contains iron and vitamin C, where they help boost our immunity day by day. Oh yeah, if you like, come try me.
Golden Morn, make every day amazing.
Nestle, good food, good life.
Contemporary times require practical skills to remain competitive and relevant in your organization. Therefore, take advantage of NTA TV College short proficiency courses to sharpen your professional skills. Basic Broadcast Accounting and Auditing. Date 19th April to 30th April 2021. 2 weeks. Audio Engineering, Operations and Maintenance. Date 19th April to 23rd April 2021. 1 week. Protocol, Event Management and Public Relations. Date 3rd May to 14th May 2021. 2 weeks. Intermediate Camera Operation Techniques. Date 17th May to 11th June 2021. 4 weeks. The course fee for the 4-week course is 100,000 naira per participant. The fee for the 2-week course is 80,000 naira, while the course fee for the 1-week course is 40,000 naira only. Accommodation inclusive. Venue for all the courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more inquiries, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos. Training you to be the best you want to be.
Guess what?
What?
I scored a hat trick today.
Cool!
Wow!
And how did you celebrate?
Just do your hands like this.
And hold your nose like this?
Body odor is caused by germs. That's why you need the new improved Dettol Cool Soap, which protects against 99.9% odor-causing germs with an extra burst of menthol freshness. Dettol, be 100% sure.
It's the dawn of a new era on NTA's flagship program, the Sports Parliament, revitalized with lots of varieties, including feedback responses from viewers. Sports Parliament, the weekly sports show that exposes all the intrigues in the Nigerian sports sector and projects an agenda on the way forward for Nigerian sports. On NTA every Thursday at 10:30 p.m., running for 1 whole hour, discussing sports. The parliamentarians are more committed than ever to enlighten the viewers as the sports parliament takes it to a whole new level on the floor of the House. Keep a date with the sports parliament as motions are moved every Thursday on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, with his gavel to harmonize sports resolutions. The House have it.
After a disappointing result against already relegated Sheffield United, Brighton and Hove Albion will be looking to put up an impressive performance when they welcome overachieving Leeds United this Saturday. It's Brighton and Hove Albion versus Leeds United on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m.
The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu in association with Gold.com.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we are live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. It's time for business news, with the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation pledging support for the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative (NETI) in tracking oil and gas revenue. Let's join our correspondent Kunle Adeyeye for details.
The Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, during a visit to NETI, pledged to ensure appropriate remittances are made into government coffer. He also promised to resuscitate the inactive interministerial task team with a view to resolving issues that may arise between agencies in the oil and gas sector.
We will put hands together to make sure that whatever is due to government by way of revenue, royalties, fines and so on, do come to government. We are supportive 100% of what NETI is doing, and we will assist them to achieve their objectives.
We want to work with all the agencies that either take custody of government funds, warehouse or manage them, because 90%, 80%, thereabout, majority of these funds come from one way or the other from the extractive industry.
And quickly to details of Tuesday's tradings on the floor of the exchange. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
All right, welcome to midweek's edition of Good Morning Nigeria. And if you're just joining us, you're right on time to catch up our newspaper review coming up in a moment.
Our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Tape, is right here with us in the studios. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kingsley. Good morning. Good morning, Claire.
Good morning, Bayo.
Good morning, Nigeria.
That's right.
How are you, Bayo?
I'm fine. You?
Well, I don't know. There's so many depressing stories, all over the newspapers this morning.
Don't worry, Nigeria shall overcome.
Yes, of course. Of course. Kingsley, should I start with the nation?
Well, let me take the Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust newspaper, right below the name flag, says, "Stop sharing photos of soldiers killed in action, Army pleads." That's page 10. Electricity tariff review. Consumers and experts urge federal government to soft-pedal. And the story, again, is on insecurity with a kicker. Insecurity. Buhari seeks U.S. help once African relocated to Africa. And there are 4 riders to that. No partnership can solve Nigeria's problems. That's attributed to a UK minister. Senate calls for sophisticated arms and more security personnel. Declare state of emergency, reps tell president. Strengthen ties with neighbors and bring mercenaries. That's what experts are saying. And you can see the photographs there all on the front page. Left side, Yobe State traditional rulers attending a security meeting with the governor in Damaturu. President Buhari in separate meetings with the APC national leader and the Borno State governor at the presidential villa in Abuja yesterday. IPOB attacks. Wike imposes curfew on Rivers boundaries. That's page 6. Police dismissed 3 officers for extortion. And lastly there, RFI, why I reviewed my past position on negotiating with terrorists. Details on page 6. Claire.
All right. Let me start with the front page of The Nation, and the major story is on the Senate's reaction to the security situation in the country. It's captioned, Senators, Reps challenge federal government on state of security. Senators, Reps challenge federal government on state of security. And it comes with one rider there. President needs cooperation, says Tinubu. And the story continues on the inside page on page 4. Now, just a little above that caption, you find another one on the left-hand side, that's to your right. 7 killed in Benue IDP camp. Autumn laments herders' impunity. Gunmen set ablaze High Court police station in Ebonyi and Sokoto. And other stories trending just above the nameplate. How ex-governors, others acquired 800 Dubai assets. President seeks urgent U.S. help on security. Kisley just read out that from the Daily Trust. Zulum get external support. Okay, Zulum get external support. And the other one says, Erufai, Boni, Tambuo call for collective action to end banditry. And there's this particular story trending at the foot of the paper. I just want to mention it as well so that Bayo can also speak to it. Kanu shuts down Technical College. I don't know if this has to do with insecurity, but it will just...
That's right.
It has.
There were threats. The report was in the social media yesterday that they apprehended some security threats and therefore took the precautionary measure of shutting down the school.
Really, it is a stitching time to save 9. Well, let's look at the whole gamut of stories. They are all concerned about security, the domestic initiative, domestic alarm, and also the international dimension. But let's start with this human interest one. The Nigerian Army has pleaded with Nigerians to stop sharing on social media graphic pictures of killed in action soldiers. The Director of Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Yarima Mohammed, pleaded that this act is not only unpatriotic, but it is insensitive to the personnel killed in the course of defending and protecting the country from adversaries. He described it as utterly reprehensible. And he gave an instance. He says, the gallant officers and men met with their worst form of savagery at the hands of adversaries. Some of this gruesome and unpatriotic act is done without consideration for the personnel who have paid the supreme sacrifice in service of our fatherland. Sometimes, in some cases, their loved ones find out about their unfortunate demise in such callous manner, even before the military authorities have enough time to contact them. The Nigerian Army, he says, will be compelled to take legal action to protect troops who die in the action from being so ridiculed. Meanwhile, at the international dimension, President Muhammadu Buhari has called on the international community to support Nigeria in tackling growing insecurity to avoid spillover. He was specific in discussing with the United States Secretary of State in a virtual meeting, Mr. Anthony Blinken, and enjoined the U.S. to consider relocating the U.S. Africa Command stationed in Stuttgart, Germany, to come closer to Africa at the place he described as the theater of operation. He added, partnership with countries to counter transnational threat should relocate to Africa. The president also stressed that the security challenges has led to negative pressure in the Sahel, Central African Republic, West Africa, as well as the Lake Chad region. The Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, expressed delight that Nigeria is part of his first virtual contact since resuming office. He said he will be glad to build on the over 60 years of relations with Nigeria, and they will look into area to consider the economy, COVID-19, and tackle security as well as the vulnerable communities and climate change. Some other security experts were of the opinion that the president could have sought help in the area of intelligence, report, and advanced societies and easy of procuring armament. Sometimes armaments are not readily there. When you want armed personnel carrier, you want aircrafts, you have to pay and book before they are manufactured. You will be shocked to find out that there was approval by the National Economic Council for some amount to be taken to procure armament for the military in the year 2019. Up till now, those arms are not here because they are not there on the showroom for you to pick. They have to start manufacturing them, and it takes quite a long time. And that was why when Governor Babagana Zulum visited the president and was briefing him, he said that he thinks some of the problem is that there is need to get supply to support the soldiers. The armament that has been, the equipment that have been ordered have not arrived, and the soldiers do not have them.
I think Kingsley, the two big stories today, Bayo, if I may, if you're to vote, it should be the story coming out from the National Assembly in an urgent full rethink, of the way we are, our approach to issues of insecurity, and then the one coming from the presidency's discussion with the U.S. on the, reconsideration of relocating AFRICOM. And that has been a subject of discussion for some time. And previous governments turned down that offer. I'm sure we remember when the offer was made for the command to be relocated to the Gulf of Guinea. I know the previous Nigerian governments turned it down. And well, this should be subjects for discussion. The two big stories today.
Yes, really, and the concern was also raised on the floor of the Senate because we were talking about frustration rising from insecurity in different parts of the country. And they have indicated that the Senate leadership and the leadership of the National Assembly will again meet with Mr. President to discuss this issue. But meanwhile, the Senator Mohammed Musa, who's representing Niger, he said that over 475 persons have been killed by bandits in Niger State since January. And currently, he has confirmed that Boko Haram has taken over 3 locations and has hoisted their flag at Auri, Alawa, and 1 other positions. And the worst thing is that they are running riot over the villagers, extorting, causing arson, and also rape all over the place. In one instance, they report that they have taken over the wives of some women in that area. I'm taking them over to their place as their wives.
I think it's now time to act.
Well,
seriously.
that's part of what we raised in our banter segment while we're starting off the program. There are 2 issues that, as Claire indicated, the headquarters of AFRICOM. I know that some security and military experts had earlier kicked against citing AFRICOM on African soil or anywhere near us. They had their own strategic reasons for doing that, but whether those reasons are still tenable today is a different consideration. It's for them to interrogate the issues and then see what benefits there might be if you had an AFRICOM headquarters here in Africa, or more particularly in Nigeria. There's a story also here that police dismissed 3 officers for extortion. It's right at the foot of the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. I think I've had cause to mention this sometime in the past. The 3 officers, I think they're inspectors, they said they extorted a student. The amount that they extorted from the student was 153,000 naira. Well, I don't have immediate access to police regulations that will govern disciplinary procedures and measures when officers are caught to have infringed upon the rules. When you have trained officers in weapons handling and all kinds of things, and suddenly you just wake up and you say, okay, you are dismissed from the force.
Go home.
Go home. And not just because of the prevailing insecurity in the country. 2 days later, 1 week later, the man has nothing to fall back on. What do you expect? I'm not saying this for these individuals. And these are persons who already know how to handle weapons. So what do? Couldn't there be other disciplinary measures, such as demotion? If you're an inspector, I don't know the rank below that, if you go down 2 or 3 steps below that, and you would know when your mates are now your bosses, of course you will be ashamed to disclose why you are not at the same rank with them. Yes. You just say you are dismissed, or you can take them off whatever attitudes they were doing. And I'm sure that you also have police personnel who perform janitorial services. That's a big word for saying that, who are cleaners, and maybe they'll be cleaning and sweeping, cleaning toilets, for some weeks or for some months with their lower rank before they start climbing up again. Not just to say you are dismissed. So you dismiss, you put them into the society, and sometimes they could be poisons.
Yes, I think what we are proposing is a kind of an alternative disciplinary measures. Within the police force itself, when such reports come, the officers face what is called orderly room trial, depending upon their rank. And when they are found convicted, then it behoves on either on the Commissioner of Police or the Inspector General of Police to approve for their dismissal. But the point Kingsley has raised is very germane. If you recall, some of the participants in the bank robbery at Offa, some of them were former policemen, dismissed policemen. And therefore, the danger you have pointed out is quite real. A person who has been an expert in handling arms all of a sudden finds himself by his own omission or commission to be out of job. And the temptation to resort to crime is quite high. And at the end of the day, it's the society that will pay very dearly for that infringement. And therefore, if a minor disciplinary action were taken to retain him within the system, it would have been better. Ebonyi State has lost its innocence because so far of the seasons of attack that has been going on, Ebonyi has been spared on till yesterday when there was a petrol bomb attack at the Federal High Court in Owerri. Abakaliki. Luckily, the police and the fire services reacted quickly and part of the court was destroyed. However, at a checkpoint near what is described as at Afipo, they killed also security men who were at the checkpoint.
And the level of insecurity in that state has led to the postponement of the burial ceremony of the late Supreme Court Justice, Sylvester Unguta. His burial ceremony was supposed to happen, so it's been postponed indefinitely until calm returns. Bayo, you've already discussed this, you referenced the story of sharing photos of soldiers killed in action. They don't need to be told that. I mean, it's disgusting in the first instance for you to be sharing photographs or posting photographs of soldiers who have died in battle. It's not done. And it's just as well that the military is reminding everyone else as to our responsibility, not just to ourselves, but also to the families of those fallen heroes and their colleagues who are still in service.
Anyway, it is who are the guilty ones? Us, yes. Bayo, thank you.
It's not you. I mean, I've not done that. Maybe it's not journalists.
Yeah,
it's journalists.
because we are the one.
No, it's not journalists. It's social media. I mean, I'm not part of that.
That is the price we pay when we say citizens, journalists.
Journalists.
Every Tom, Dick, and Harry takes any picture and puts it on the social media. You remember in Sudan, when the American soldiers who were there for peacekeeping were
that was in Somalia.
Somalia it was.
Yeah.
Immediately they withdrew their soldiers from that country. You don't desecrate soldiers who are putting their life on line to save you and I.
I have to interject here.
Thank you.
Yes, we've given you at least you spent more than.
No, but you reopened the conversation. I say that it's a journalist.
Kingsley has started again. Bayo, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you again tomorrow. All right. This is Good Morning Nigeria. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
At the first sign of pain, you need a solution that you can trust to provide effective relief and is gentle on the stomach. Try Panadol Caplets for relief from headaches, body aches, and fever. With Panadol's Optizorb formula, the tablet gently breaks down in the stomach, quickly absorbs, and starts providing pain relief in 15 minutes. For fast and effective pain relief that you can trust, try Panadol Caplets. This has been Medifact for Panadol.
Whatever you do, you can use the number.
the Smartphone Network.
As Oni of Ife, as someone who cares about the well-being and safety of our people, it's time for each and every one of us to realize that COVID-19 is real and it has killed millions of people around the world. Scientists have developed this vaccine. The vaccine is safe for everyone and it contains no microchip, nor can it alter our DNA. However, we must continue to stay safe and stay clean, wear face masks, clean our hands on a regular basis, and try as much as possible to avoid a very large crowd and gathering. For those who choose to be vaccinated, it will go a long way in protecting yourself and your loved ones from COVID-19.
Kehinde suffers from indigestion. His twin Taiyi suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around, or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts for up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action.
You won't go shake your body. Instead, they make it calm down. If the farm say you sabi, you want to grow 6 packs in a day. I beg you not to pass your power. You want to show yourself, oh.
Whatever your size, find it with the new Airtel data plans. Dial *141# now to get the plan that suits you.
Airtel, the Smartphone Network.
After a disappointing result against already relegated Sheffield United, Brighton and home Albion will be looking to put up an impressive performance when they welcome overachieving Leeds United this Saturday. It's Brighton and home Albion versus Leeds United on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m.
The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu in association with Gold.com.
All right, welcome back. This is Good Morning Nigerian, the network service of the NTA. Today on the program, our subject matter will be on how to reverse the tide of insecurity in Nigeria. But before we take on our guests, let's bring in our report from our correspondent, Abdul Salam Jubril.
Of late, Nigeria's security upheavals have thrown up a series of concerns as situations of attacks, counter-attacks are leaving scores of deaths of innocent civilians and members of the nation's security personnel in their wake. Just on Monday, the 26th of April 2021, the country's insecurity challenge assumed frightening proportions as bandits, arsonists, kidnappers, and armed robbers unleashed mayhem across the 6 geopolitical zones in the country. In Niger State, the state governor, Abubakar Sani Bello, confirmed that terror groups had established territories in parts of the state and hoisting their flag in Kauri village, from where they have made incessant attacks. Reports were also rife of the killings of some security personnel in Rivers State by gunmen and also troops of Operation Lafia Dole in Borno State coming under attacks by terrorists. Perhaps more disheartening was the news of the killing of another 2 of the kidnapped students of the Greenfield University in Kaduna State by their abductors. The sad news came barely 4 days after the killing of 3 of the university students who were abducted on the 20th of April 2021. Last week, the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodima's country home, was attacked by unknown gunmen. 2 days after, a police station was attacked, as the state has been experiencing series of attacks lately, especially on security formations. And on Tuesday this week, in neighboring Ebonyi State, it was reported that hoodlums set the Federal High Court in Abakaliki ablaze using petrol bombs. These are few of recent security issues that have raised concerns about internal protection for the country, propelling the calls for a multi-stakeholder approach and revamping the nation's security architecture. Is this the way to go? Some regions across the country have also set up regional security outfits, such as Abuja in the southeast and Amotekun in the southwest. How viable are these security outfits towards stemming the country's insecurity challenge? With concerted efforts from the federal government in curbing the security challenge in the nation, what could be the reasons for the unprecedented insecurity spike across the country? And what more needs to be done to safeguard the lives and properties of Nigerians? These are just some of the issues on the front burner today, as guests on the program discuss how the country can stem the tide of insecurity.
Many thanks, Abdusalam Jibril, for that background. We have guests with us in our studios this morning to discuss this issue. Let's first welcome one of our regulars, General John Temlong. He was first commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force and also former president of the Alumni Association of the National Defense College. He's a security consultant. General Temlong, delighted to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Kingsley. Delight to be here. Good morning, Nigerians.
Right, not particularly happy times, though. Let's also welcome Major General Garba Wahab. He's Director General of the Nigerian Army Resource Center and a former General Officer commanding 1st Division of the Nigerian Army in Kaduna. General Wahab, delighted to have you again this morning.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Let me also welcome to the studio Moses Jitobo. He is the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Department of Research and Planning, Force Headquarters here in Abuja. It's a pleasure having you on our program.
Thank you very much, and it's nice being here also.
All right, and it's my pleasure to also introduce the Honorable Abdulrazak Namdas. He's Chairman, House Committee on Army. He's also joining us for this discussion. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
All right. Once again, gentlemen, I'd like to have you with us on the program this morning. DIG Moses Jitobo, would like to especially welcome you. I'm a bit surprised to see you in our studios because I had been reading online that you had been firmly pressed into retirement as a means of clearing the deck for others. So I see your uniform today. Is it a ghost or is it real?
It's very real, very real. All those are just fake news, just to heat up the system. You can see me now, live and direct.
So, DIG Jitobo, MNI.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. Well, of course, we're discussing a very serious issue all around the country. The National Assembly itself has also risen to the occasion by holding deliberations and arriving at resolutions. But let's first just have an understanding of what's going on. I want to start off, Claire, as we were discussing at the beginning of this program, say with the Southeast. Now, it's way back now, 35 years ago in 1986, during the Anini Saga in Old Bend Estate, when the armed robbers were attacking policemen, taking their weapons. They were still using Mark IV at the time. They had not fully upgraded. And then, of course, using those same weapons for robbery attacks. But how do we understand what is happening in the Southeast, where security personnel are being attacked, being killed, police formations are being raised, and checkpoints are being routed, and it just appears that it's an open season for criminal elements? What are we dealing with here? Let's begin with DIG Jitobo.
Yes, I would like to take you back to what you just said about the Anini Saga. In those days, you talked about Mark IV. and now we have a AK-47. But we should know that time has changed in the sense that there was no social media there. Now, whatever you do is being the world sees it. So, one, and we are now in the era of what do you call it, human rights and human rights abuses. So things have to be taken. We have to shift from that brutal way now to more civilized way. You will not see the police. We just in your news you saw that 3 policemen were dismissed. We are moving with time, so we have to be very cautious and handle the society with kid gloves. The NSAS came. You saw police stations were also burnt. Policemen had their arms, but they could not shoot. They could not kill because of human rights abuses. So what are we trying to say? The police is now a victim. The police have to be more and most careful. Yes, in the southeast now, police stations have been attacked. Now the police stations are now soft targets. The hunter is now being hunted, being hounded. But that will not stop. That will not deter us from doing our jobs. Arrests have been made. Investigations are going on, and operations are still going on. But we must differentiate between criminality and agitations. There are 2 different things now. The agitations have now turned into criminality. The police is looking onto it. Yes, we are losing men. Yes, we are dying. But actions have been taken which I cannot talk here, but I'm very sure we have a new IG now, and the management teams have been meeting in the nearest future. It's just maybe in some few days to weeks time you will see the police come out strongly to suppress all these insurrections. Very, very soon.
All right, thank you. Thank you, DIG Jetobo. Let me take the question to General John Temlong before we come back to the studio. General Temlong, you listened to DIG Jetobo. He said that the police is now a victim. The police stations have become choice areas for bandits, for criminals to break in. And they also seem to have become even much more vulnerable, to falling for these attacks. So is the police really the victim now? Or is it that the police has become more complacent after the NSAS protest?
Well, thank you very much, Claire. I think it is both because I don't want the police to see themselves as a victim because that demoralizes the rank and file. Rather, the effects of NSAS have actually taken a toll on the police itself and policing in this country, which I thought we should have done something more drastically and quickly to get back the police in shape and then to get back their morale. Because you find out that what the criminals are doing now is to attack the police and create fear and push them to the background so that they see themselves as victims, they see themselves as soft targets, and then they take over the space for policing from the police. And so they become the legitimate instrument of state for coercion. And that means the criminals would have taken over the public space. And this should be avoided at all costs. I see the policemen now strategizing and coming up to look. They are armed, those people are armed, but they must up their game because they are trained to be able to detect and nip these attacks right before they get into their place. And even when they get in, it is legitimate for them to self-defense is allowed. They are supposed to defend themselves. and not allow people to come and attack them and overrun their stations and the rest. So I think they must get back to shape. Let the sagging morale be boosted. Let the public to come up to support the police. And I think the most important thing is for the public, Nigerians, to be able to actually up the game for them, because it is the Nigerian police. It is not the British police. It is not a Korean police or Chinese police, but it is Nigerians, our children, and they have a legitimate and constitutional right to protect us and to enforce law and order. And by and large, those lawful people are really the ones taking over the space, because the criminals are now the ones taking over and becoming even the voices of the people. You see that progressively there has been a sense of quiet from leaders and even the governors. Until something happens, you hear them coming to talk. And so you have people like Nandi Kanu who sit down in London, Igboho will sit down and then start dishing us orders as if they are some military commanders or some head of states or governors, and they are instructing people to go and kill, to maim, and in fact, I heard the Igbos now using fatwa too. I think it's quite unfortunate. It's because all men of goodwill and leaders have just recluse and allowed these criminals to take over the public space and become leaders. We must do something about it. We must rise up to the occasion, and Nigerians must decide as a country that we must survive, as a country that we must get out of this, what we have found ourselves in. And as a country, we must be able to fight those criminals amongst us, expose them, fish them out, and deal with them. Even at the community level, there are ways of punishing criminals. But it appears they have taken over the public space. They have taken over the communities. They are taking over the cities. And now they overrun police stations at ease and hit and go back. And then the public gets so excited about it that they start flashing these things on social media as if it's some good news. I think the Nigerian public must be more patriotic than what we're doing now. We must be able to get back and know what citizenship is and what to build and how to build a nation. Nationhood is beyond just flashing the pictures of people who are supposed to be protecting us, who have become victims, who have killed. They have parents, they have relations, they have families, and then we keep throwing about their pictures all over the world. It's never done. It's so callous and it's so inhuman. You don't carry opposition or you don't carry hatred for anybody to that extent. It could happen to anybody. I think we must get back our value to life. We must get back our core values of respect for the dead, and we must get our value for respect for institutions. So I believe that the police should not see themselves as victims. They are legitimately performing their duties. They shouldn't get cowed down by any criminal groups. They should continue to perform their duties, defend themselves. It's part of your fundamental rights to be alive. And for you to be given those arms is for you to defend yourselves, not to allow any criminal to come and hit you and you say it's human rights. No. Get him out of that way. It is, they are not supposed to be breathing the same air we're breathing in the public. They're supposed to be somewhere. I think that's the important thing. Thank you very much for now.
All right, thanks a lot, General John Tamlong. We'll return to you in the course of the conversation. Let's bring in our Major General Garba Wahab. Major General Wahab, well, we're using the police as an entry point into this conversation, but we do know that there have also been instances, even in the Southeast, where military personnel themselves have also been attacked and killed by criminal elements. We have seen what has happened in Rivers, which is in the South-South, where the state governor has already imposed a restriction on movement. Beyond 8 p.m., you can't go out, you can't come in until 6 a.m. On account of widespread attacks on not just police, but also military personnel. What is your reading of all of this? I mean, plus the fact that innocent citizens are also being killed by rampaging gangsters.
Thank you very much. I think we are getting a lot of things wrong, and a lot of issues are being mixed up seriously. And unfortunately, the social media is being used now to propagate criminality. And somewhere along the line, like Janet Temlong said, a lot of people are sitting back and folding their hands, waiting for magic to happen. Magic cannot happen anywhere. And somewhere, somehow, we need to realize that even the Constitution that provides those human rights for everybody, the same Constitution, Section 43, debunk all the human rights provision. When somebody is impinging on others' rights, when the security of the nation is at stake. So somewhere, somehow, I think it is time for everybody to come on board and realize that, look, it is not the rural communities that are feeling the pains now. The battle is actually coming to the open, to the cities. Imo, Rivers, Bayelsa, you can name it. Initially, it was farmlands. Initially, it was the means of feeding the nation. Now, it is those that are responsible for ensuring the security of the country. And when that continues, whether it's happening in the US and we're copying it or not, whether some people feel they can sit back somewhere and give instructions as to what they should do, it is the nation that is going to feel the pang. And somewhere, somehow, nobody will come to your assistance. Even if the president wants the Americans to come in and assist us and relocate the US Africa Command to Nigeria, if Nigerians don't stand up and do most of what is required, a single American soldier will not die on a foreign soil if the national interest of US is not involved. The same country had imposed restrictions on us getting weapons. So whatever they come to do is based on their national interest. It is for Nigerians to wake up, to come together and work as a team and ensure that the criminals, whatever the name, whether insurgency, whether religion, whether tribal issues, all is about politics. It's about who gets what, when, and how. So we need to determine what we want to be and stop all this rubbish. Otherwise, it's going to be a situation where nobody can leave his house without paying something to somebody to affirm that, yes, you can move through the streets. And we are gradually getting to that level.
All right, thank you, Major General Wahab, Garba Wahab. Let me bring in Honorable Namdas into the conversation. Honorable Namdas, officially we are not at war, but I'd like you to share your perspectives, not just as Chairman Committee on Army, but also as a member of the National Assembly. How are you reading the recent escalation of insecurity, attacks, especially on security facilities, attacks on soft targets like schools, kidnaps and all that? Have we gotten to the extent where we need to escalate our counter approach or strategy to include the wider army, or is it still an orchestrated plot by some people that we can still deal with using our police?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to say very clear that we have to look at the major cause of the killings. And my understanding of it is that there are too many arms in the hands of Nigerians, particularly criminals. The proliferation of small arms and light weapons in Nigeria is one of the major reasons why we have increased attacks on national assets, security personnel, and what have you. I want to say this because, you see, the United Nations, both the Nations Treaty and the ECOWAS Treaty, which Nigeria is a signatory to all this, that every country should be able to have national commission on small arms and light weapons. The study states clearly that there are about 500 million illegal arms in Africa. 70%, which is represented by 350 million of these arms, are in Nigeria. And the population of Nigerians alone is about 200 million. Now we have illegal weapons because of the nature of porous borders that we have this thing comes across. So we need to have first both the police and the army and other security agencies should, all their hands must be on deck. Let's see how we can mop out these hands, illegal arms, because of the situation in Libya in 2011 that has generated to all coming to this. Now it's easy to even get arms than to buy a loaf of bread. It's easy. Because people, if you look at even on the social media, how when the police investigates, they tell them, look, I bought this at the rate of 500,000, 600,000. So they have access to it. So it's as if you have 500,000, 600,000, it's like you can just always put your hands and you get armed. So if people have access to arms, that means illegally, then we are in trouble. Because the Constitution and the laws of Nigeria has asked us that who are those people that have the legality to carry arms? The police, the army, and other activities. But now it's everywhere. So I think first, if we don't mop these things, then we are in trouble. And we also in the National Assembly, because efforts have been made to, I think, to have this National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons. As I talk to you today, it is a presidential committee on small arms and light weapons that is in place. And therefore, if we have that National Commission, mop out, if you look at news on a daily basis, you see police parading criminals with so many arms, and then we want to know these arms, where are they at the moment? We also want to know, look at customs. They will tell you at the border, we have cache of arms coming from other countries, they display it. Now we want to know, where are they? So because let it not get back to the hands of the criminals. And if we, then the federal government must work seriously to make sure that we beef up our border security so that people do not have access to this thing coming illegally into the country. So I think, in my opinion, this is one step that once we address that, it will reduce the spate of attacks in the country.
Well, Honorable Namdas, thanks. Incidentally, this is a subject matter we also discussed last week relating to the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. But you know that a commission can be effective. It may also be ineffective. It's not. I mean, we have a number of commissions that are virtually in a state of coma in different parts of the country. So, but the existential threat that we face today are the stories of attacks and killings and abduction, kidnapping for ransom. 5 students from Greenfield University in Kaduna, 5 of them have become part of the body count amongst those who were kidnapped from the institution, and all around. So, well, that's a long way to go. But there are some persons would also raise the question: you have a gun, you have a weapon. There must be a motivation to use it. Have we tried to contemplate what the drivers of these uses are? To say, if I say driver, to say what is the motivation for you to have a weapon, and then you say, look, I want to actually use that weapon. There are issues related to farmers-herders clashes, issues relating to the fact that you can have easy access to money when you kidnap and then you demand for ransom, issues related to the fact that you can virtually commit any crime and get away with it. Have we taken a look at some of these causative factors?
No, I think this is very true. But I think I also want to look at it from the fact that, let me give an example of Nigerian Army, at least that I oversight. Now, the Nigerian Army personnel are doing quite well. They've put their lives on the line to fight the war, to prosecute the war. But the truth must be told, that do they have enough personnel to prosecute this war? Because if you have the clearance for you to go after them, now the Nigerian Army is in 34 of 36 states, prosecuting one particular crisis or the other. Now, constitutionally, the armed forces' major constitutional role is to protect the sovereignty of this country by land, by air, and by sea. This is the major one. The police is the major leader in the ISO, International Security Organization. But we know that the Constitution provides the president the powers to call in the army in the situation that the event is above the powers of the police. They can use the firepower of also the army. But now in prosecuting this, if army is in 34 states, and then we have challenges, even now if we should have challenge, given what is happening in Chad today, do we have the capacity to do this? So the problem is that even if for us to nip in the bud, we need to wake up, get more personnel, Because even if you have the technology, you still need personnel to master this position. So do we have that? And then again, another problem we are facing in Nigeria today is that even if two people are fighting, Nigeria army must be involved. I mean, it's really, we should focus on the police. Give the police the adequate training. Give them equipment. So that this issue of internet security is the issue of the police. But nobody talks about police so much. They talk more on army than on police. We have to be very sure. When I was growing up as a young man, in my place in Adamawa, anytime you see a mobile policeman, you run even before you run away from the mobile police than the army in the first place. Because when they were trained in Gwaza, we know that any mobile officer that goes through Gwaza after training, he has the capacity to do the needful and try to cover up all insecurity. But today, the DIG is seated here. Let him tell you whether the Gwaza camp is still producing mobile policemen, because even that insurgents have taken over the place. It has the army that have to recover that from the insurgents. And now, until we do the training, everybody should be given the situation. Because if you don't do that, you don't give them the necessary power, we will continue to have these issues at hand. And the police are more in number than army. Because in every village, you see a police post. Will you see every army post in every village? It's not possible. So we have to have that. And we politicians or people that have the political will, we must not just send our security people just like that. They must have the capacity to work. Provide them with the funds. Provide them with the equipment. And let's do this job. If that is not done, and all hands must be on deck, because no one institution has the capacity to handle everything. So we must not rely everything army. Police is the leading role, has the leading role in ISO. Give them the resources, give them the training, and let's see what happens.
And that's why my question will be directed to DIG Moses, because we must have this conversation. I mean, we shouldn't have a vague conversation. We must make our conversation real. And the reality now is that we must take our country back from whoever that is causing us this harm, by way of attacks and killings. So I'm going to ask DIG Moses Jitubo, is the police, what really is the excuse of the police? Are you overwhelmed? Are you challenged by your numbers? Are you challenged by the amount of weaponry you have access to? Are you challenged by technology? Are you challenged by intelligence to be able to respond adequately to what is happening at the moment?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think most of your question has been answered by the honourable here. First, there's a transition. We are not overwhelmed. Yes, we are challenged, but we are not overwhelmed. There's a transition now. Before, we have the cultural transition as we are moving from time to time. The honourable knows that in his village, we hardly have fences in our houses. Police stations hardly have fences because everybody looks out for each other. So these cultural values are eroding fast. And the police, as the lead internal security agency, also have to move. But unfortunately, you also mentioned it, every day we lose men. Every day men retire. Every day some are dismissed, some just disappear, but they are not being replaced. So there's shrinkage of personnel. Yes, the federal government has approved about 10,000 recruitment for the next 5-6 years, but it is still we all know what is happening. It is not flowing. So apart from this, so we have to use our limited resources to meet up with time. The police, just as I said earlier, intelligence is a factor. The police is now moving in, but funding matters. The police needs to be well funded so that we can acquire more platform, more assets to meet up with the challenging time. One problem we have is that the police, just like every other security agency here, are visible. So it is easy for the criminals to plan ahead of them. Most of the attacks that we have been having, you say they are all snap attacks. They come, they hit and run, they hit and go. Why? Because they see the police, they observe the police, and they make plans. So how do we cope? How do we overcome this? Through intelligence, which we are now. I think we've started. You've heard of the IRT. We have been doing it, and we are still doing it. Yes, we are challenged, but as long as funding is still our major problem. Yes, the government has also so many other things that they will do. The military is there. The military is also overstretched. This problem cut across not just the police. If the military comes down and give you their own, you'll be surprised.
Let me just interject here, because you talked about intelligence sharing.
Yes.
You know, as an issue, and that you've been doing it, and I'd like to find out from you. For instance, the latest attacks yesterday, the one that happened in Oriago, in the Himembano, that's in Imo State. That area it's not so remote, but at least it's quite a distance from the capital. So for bandits or criminals to travel to Oriago to attack a police station in Oriago, they must have passed 2 kilometers, and the police officers didn't get wind of it.
Would you blame there? You also blame the people.
No.
If the people,
we will talk about the people. What happened to the intelligence therein between, you know, the kilometers of, you know, that the people had to travel? How is it that the police didn't get the hints and then, you know, move?
Police is not invisible. We are not spirits. We work with intelligence and we work with people. Intelligence is not in the vacuum. You must deal with people. So I think what we should be talking about is proper nation building, where there will be trust. The police we are working on that trust, because gone are the days, or we are trying to face out those stories where we say they told police and police told criminals. We are trying to face out all those, because recruitment now will be will be done on strict merit and quality purposes. So we are trying we have to build trust, which we are doing now, because there is no way that there will be movement from point A to point D, passing through C and B and C, where nobody will provide information. So once that trust is built, we are going to overcome that. But with time, I say it's a passing phase. We will meet up with these challenges.
Thank you very much, GIG Jitobo. Let's bring in again General Temlong. General Temlong, I'm going to ask you a broad question. You can take aspects of what the other guests have also mentioned. How do we, as a nation, reclaim our peace and security from violent non-state actors?
Thank you very much, Kingsley. I love the way you ask some of those questions, because you ask real problem questions that demand serious answers. Now, to reclaim the public space, in the first place, you asked a very good question to the Honorable. The whole question is not about small arms or light weapons. The whole question is about governance. It's governance issues. And our politicians, political leaderships must take responsibility, because the buck stops on their table. You ask the question, say, what gives the man the urge to use those weapons, even if he has them? You must know that if you know that you commit an offense, there are consequences for offense. If you know that to hold illegal weapons, there are consequences. And you know that there is low equality between law and order. You don't see people in high places going away with high crimes and misdemeanor, growing about being elected even when they have cases in their head, and after some years the cases disappear. And the rest, it gives an incentive to the lower man there. You don't see people playing about with resources that are supposed to be from the Commonwealth are being used by certain people. There is total lack of governance in the communities and at the lower level. Even if it's there, they are bad governance. The states are just there. You hear the governors making noise. If you do a head count today in Abuja, you might find out about 3/4 of the governors are here in Abuja instead of being in their state capitals. The only way the citizens are involved in governance in these countries is usually during the electioneering campaigns. That's when they get to see their political leaders. That's when they get to talk. That's when they reach out to them. You see them walking. The moment they are elected, and which is supposed to be governance starting at that place, that's the end of it. The citizens cease to participate in governance. And that in itself is a serious problem. Because the moment you are not involved in governance, the citizens are not carried along, then you alienate yourself, those in government authority and the governed. And so you don't even actually know what they are going through. Sometimes they even laugh and say there are Abuja politicians, they only come back during electioneering campaigns. We should call a spade a spade. Governance issues are the problems. For us to reclaim the public space, Kingsley, we must get our governance right, and our governors and our politicians and those who are responsible must be accountable to the citizens and be seen to be accountable to the citizens. That's number one. We must carry the citizens all around. And that's what you need. We have actually talked of having an all-of-government approach and a whole-of-citizens approach to the security problems of this country. Clear asked the question about sharing intelligence and how do people move 2 kilometers without them knowing. The citizens must be carried along. There has to be a citizens approach. The DIG said they are not spirit. Yes, it's true. But if the citizens know their roles, then the citizens will be able to report to the police. And the police must get the trust of the citizens. What I want to urge is that we have a better understanding of the problems. We are talking of a force now that is better armed, even sometimes than the conventional military that are fighting within the country. And we think that the police can handle them. It's not possible. What I would recommend is for our leaders, political leaders, and even those in the police and the military, there is a book, Understanding Modern Warfare by David Jordan et al. It's something that you need to read and understand, that you must understand the problem. If we don't understand the problem, we'll always keep beating about administering Panadol for malaria. We must administer malaria medicine for malaria fever. And so what we are doing as a country, those who are responsible should know what we are supposed to do. I will urge our National Assembly to have a proactive list and then build their own capacity. Not just the National Assembly, even the governors, those in government, the executive branch, they must build their capacity to handle what is going on now in this country. It's so complex. You know, when they elect you as a member, and now you are put with the task of having an oversight over the military, there is a legislative institute in Switzerland, and it shows the oversight functions that should be carried out. I mean, there are even books from there that you read and understand and know. But you must be able to know even as much, if not more than the person you are carrying out oversight on, to understand his problems, to understand how a soldier feels when he's deployed, to understand what the family of those soldiers who are deployed, how are they feeling. And that helps you when you are legislating or when you are appropriating funds to make sure that the funds appropriated reaches out to that soldier. The equipment that he needs, he gets it, because how does he feel in battle? What are the effects of stress? What are the effects of death on him? Enter the barracks and see the effect on their families, their children. In fact, we say the toughest job in the army is the army wife. They are the ones who actually suffer more, and our children. So I think, yes, I just saw recently that the presidency wanted to give more appropriation to the military. The National Assembly was saying no. Yet, they don't know the cost of the items that are required to defend this country. The honorable member rightly pointed out that yes, you need more equipment, you need more boots on ground, but then to train people to get to the stage at which they need to do, it takes time. So when you are doing that, what are the measures you are supposed to take? I believe that they should be able to do more. Go to the front lines, not Maiduguri. Go and see those soldiers in the trenches and see how they are happening, and then experience at first hand what they are going to. And then when it comes to appropriating, it is you who should insist. I believe that what we have said yesterday, I saw it on you who were on news, that we need a comprehensive security sector reform going forward, Kingsley. The police have to be adequately reformed. We must get more boots on ground. We must get the policemen to do what they're supposed to do. We must build their capacity. And in the short term, we must use technology as a force multiplier to help the police, because it takes you a time to build and gain experience. So we must use technology as force multiplier for both the police and the military. In fact, for every member of the security sector, we need the police to be able to perform their duties. If they do not, you continue to have the military deployed day in, day out. You continue to have this security problem day in, day out, until you have a situation where you have adequate numbers of policemen policing the communities. Today, if you go to most of those local governments that are talking to you about, if the DIG is sincere to you, he will tell you that very few local governments in this country have up to 100 policemen policing them. If you go to the district, in my own district, we have only 2 policemen. I'm telling you, 2 policemen with about 6 wards. They are on duty 24 hours. I'm glad the IG has said he's going to give them money direct to the DPOs. If the DPOs tell you how much they receive in a quarter to run their stations, I'm telling you, you pity the policemen. How will you spend about 50,000 naira in a quarter to fuel, to buy stationery, to move from your police station to the state headquarters, to pay telephone bills, and the rest? In fact, you have created an avenue for corruption in itself. Because the moment you go to the police station, the man will tell you he has no papers for the stationer, and it is true. Because what you have given him in a quota cannot buy even what he needs for his report. And so you have to give him money. And the more money you give him, you are open avenue for corruption. You go to the police station in the evening, and when there is no light, the man wants you to give him money to fuel the generator, for him to even write your statement. You have created avenue for corruption already. So I think, Kingsley and Claire, for us to move forward, let us stop living in self-denial. Let us provide the capacity and capability for our armed forces and security forces to move forward. And let us build the capacity of the citizens to be able to perform their duties, and let the politicians take responsibility for what they are supposed to take. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Temlong. And indeed, in your conclusion, you touched on an area that I'd actually like to study on its nest here. And that's, of course, based on the fact that to know the cause of a thing is half solved. That's what I'm told. And there have been speculations about why it has, or it is taking us, the military, this long time to actually, address the issue of insecurity in parts of the country. Before Namdas, Honorable Nandabs comes, because I know you have changed your sitting position to respond, just hold on. Let me seek Major General Garba Wahab's opinion on this. What do you think, or what does the intelligence tell you about why this situation has persisted? Some have said, look, it's all about 2023. And the politicians are at the root of it all. And that's why it's been difficult, to address. Then, on the other hand, some are saying, look, well, the military itself is also for dragging because of some intrinsic value. What does the intelligence tell you?
Yes, 2023 is by the corner, but these are problems that have been on ground even before now. And a lot of issues are responsible. Number one, we are in a society where impunity reigns supreme. Somebody had committed an offense, and if the police cannot get through, they know they cannot get through the courts, so they do media trial. And at the end of the media trial, that's the end of the whole thing. And every time you see a lot of things happening, the will to solve the problem is not there. We are not ready to solve the problem, and now we are saying we are not able. We want somebody else to come and solve it for us. So a lot of issues are involved, and somewhere, somehow, it's not that, you see, one thing about terrorism and insurgency is not like a switch that you switch on and switch off. You must address the causative factors of education, factors of poverty, factors of unemployment, factors of fear of marginalization. In fact, that's the major issue. Virtually all segments feeling they are marginalized. And so everybody wanted to be at the top, at the ends of affairs. We inherited weak structures from the colonial masters, and we never built on the structures. And unfortunately, the structure that was weak is virtually collapsing. This is a country where you have, for instance, let me give the example of the army. 2009, the army was about 78,000, 80,000. And Nigeria was the only country, we keep on saying it, with a population that's more than 100 million that has an army of less than 100,000. Up to now, what is the strength of the army? What is the strength of the armed forces? What is the strength of the police? When you look at the UN mandate, what's the strength? Or what's the ratio of police to the civil populace? And to compound the problem, virtually all the mobile policemen have been handed over to those who can pay, apart from politicians. If you have your money today, you will get somebody to follow you. So the strength has been depleted while commercializing the force. We must get away from that. We must solve our problem first. If you want to raise funds, yes, the fund is not there. We need to realize that security is not cheap. To go technological, as General Temlong has suggested, we must be ready to pay for it. And we must encourage our citizens. We must give security awareness and education to everybody. We need to learn from Sweden. 2011, they have problems, and they were aware that Russia could invade their country. They reject their education, and virtually everybody is involved in security today. Today in Nigeria, ask the grown-up to describe something for you. He cannot describe. Even when they see the policemen moving from one village to another, it's very rare for them to tell you, this is what I've seen. Rather, we prefer to exaggerate. Unfortunately, social media is adding another problem. That is the ability for us to communicate. People will prefer to send you a message or send you something on WhatsApp. But ask the same person to tell you the same thing. He cannot tell you. And it's a major issue where you find it difficult to tell what is really happening. We need to get a lot of things right. Otherwise, we're starting, this issue might collapse on everybody. The police must, as a matter of urgency, to me, my center wrote a report. We need to withdraw all the mobile policemen from anybody who they've been given, concentrate them, retrain them, and then give them to the states. If you have 37,000 mobile policemen, each state can have 1,000 mobile policemen. And they are supposed to be barracked, not carrying bags or nylon bag or envelope for somebody. No, that's not the job of the mobile policeman. And then the IG must be given the power to recruit The Police Service Commission and IG are in court. This has been stated earlier. So we need to find out what is the problem. Recruit enough men so that you have enough policemen to perform the job, to perform their responsibility. We remove customs from internal security and add custom to finance because we are looking at monetary path, not the security aspect of what the customer is supposed to perform. And yet we want security even at the borders. The borders are porous. 1,470 kilometers border stretch between Nigeria and the Niger Republic. And then we have the same thing with Chad. And all this, anybody can come in. We have blacksmiths in places like Wasea and even in the East. There are a lot of people have said, get these people, engage them. Let them work to ensure that they are used legally. No. In Jaws, if you bring a locally made weapon, there are people who convert it that for those weapons to fire Western manufactured ammunition. That is happening in Nigeria. And yet we feel, no, so a lot of issues are there that we need to address. But let us take them one by one. Let us start with the police that are supposed to be responsible for internal security. Let us ensure we keep them, we beef them up enough to do their job. Remove every one of them. The mobile policemen are not supposed to be carrying bag for anybody. Let them do their job. Let them be the buffer between the military and the beat policeman. And beef up the beat policemen. And then you'll have enough people to do the
General Garba Wahab, thank you very much for your thoughts. It's always been an issue that every other Inspector General of Police who comes on issues a directive to say that police officers who are on private guard duties should return to the headquarters or should return to state commands. Unfortunately, I don't know. It's one of the acts of disrespect because those instructions are never followed through. And here you are making this same suggestion. You see officers, police officers, with the greatest respect to them, their uniforms were stashed. And then some of them carrying weapons, assault weapons, sitting in offices with VIPs. And then you also see them when people are traveling, they accompany them. Some of them you will see, and soldiers are also part of this, you see policemen and sometimes military officers in bathroom slippers guarding empty private residences. And these are persons who are paid from the public purse. And then we are complaining that we don't have enough personnel, we don't have enough boots on the ground. Recruit more. If you recruit more, maybe at the end I will have 3 policemen, 3 mobile, and maybe Claire will have 1 soldier and 1 navy. Sometimes chasing newspaper vendors and all kinds of things on the street. So I know that there have been abuses, as you said, General Wahab. There are aspects of commercialization which we must deal with, which we must address. Claire, we know we have a number of things. DIG Jitobo, we will come to you to respond to this. To say, for once, let us say, look, maybe you can have a gradual withdrawal of military, of policemen attached to VIP. These people sometimes they're just idle. And you go through not just villages where you don't even find policemen. General Temlong is saying in this area you have only 2 policemen guarding 6 1. In urban centers, you are looking around to see whether you can find law enforcement officers. In this case, policemen, you can find them. You know what it is in area 11 if you were to have just 2 or 3 policemen on beat patrol.
Kinsley,
all right, Claire.
Yes, I think it's time for us to take a short break. When we come back, we'll look at the tweets that you have sent, and then we'll glide down to the concluding part of our conversation.
Nigeria will join body with every other country for this world to enter the battle what they call digital broadcasting. This digital broadcasting is better part those time when we say when they go outside go the Tonto TV and not be that one. You go sit down for your comfort now. You go watch better. The TV go clear way. The people with this side go clear way. The sound man go come out well. If channel say go increase the local TV waiting for the Obodo Nigeria say go come out face where come clear well. My people, Nigeria. They enter digital.
Nigeria going digital. Nigeria going digital.
Coming to Lagos now.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise
our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Life can be very eventful. We curiously expect things to happen, even when we don't know what. Our human nature makes us like and repost lots of information. Some are unverified, inciting anger and hate. Sometimes innocently, other times the urge to break it first. This, in most cases, has caused destruction in many nations.
After a disappointing result against already relegated Sheffield United, Brighton and home Albion will be looking to put up an impressive performance when they welcome overachieving Leeds United this Saturday. It's Brighton and home Albion versus Leeds United on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m.
The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu in association with Gold.com.
Welcome back to the program. If you've just joined us, Honorable Namdas Abdurazak would like to respond to some of the issues raised by General Temlong and the other guests. Please go ahead before we take our tweets.
That's great. First, in his reactions, I think the General has said the issue is not about small arm and light weapons. I want to beg to disagree with him that proliferation of weapons in the country is one of the major contributory factors to crime, not only in Nigeria, all over the world. Because if the kind of civil crisis that they had in Libya, and some of this Mali and what have you that eventually got here, is one of the reasons that I think has increased. So to say that the problem is not the proliferation of arms, I'm not saying it's not the only problem, but we say it's part of the problem. That is one. Number two, he spoke about the issue of the National Assembly giving them enough appropriation. I want to tell you on record, you can go and ask your correspondents to check. The National Assembly has given both the armed forces and the police more resources than it has ever done before in the last 6-7 years.
You check the budgetary allocations of all the police and the army and defense and every other armed forces, it is higher. And I can tell you, personally, as chairman of House Committee on Army, I have gone on oversight function. I've even been to Kachia, where the depot of the arms depot in Kachia, I have been there. So to say that we have not gone is not true. But the point we are making is that it is not fair for people to look at governance just from the angle of elected officials. I mean, let's look at it very well. Governance is not about politicians in office. In the armed forces, in the police, in every other military, in here is also governance. If I give you resources as a politician, as a parliamentarian, for the army to work, for the police to work, it is not for me to go to the field and do the job of the policeman or the army officer. So you cannot shift blame that because you are not giving enough resources or you don't know the problem. For example, when I went to Maiduguri on oversight visit, we found out that some of the equipments that are used in prosecuting the war was the one that was procured also since Shagari era. This I saw, and the army knows. So now we came back and said, look, we have to give them more resources. So to say, I don't want the general to isolate army as an institution, police as an institution, DSS as an institution, not as if they are not governing. It's only elected officers that are doing the governance. I think it's not true. But I can agree that bad governance can contribute to crime. That is true. And I say that if we should have a local government today that is functional, that the state governors have not pocketed local government and they are functioning, and the people can be able to get their salaries, give them employment, and the federal level and the state can provide employment, provide opportunity, it can naturally reduce crime. Because I know, as a matter of fact, you cannot solve the issue of crime by the gun. No matter how sophisticated your gun is, no matter how skillful, no matter what level of technology you have, you must make way to reduce unemployment in the country, so that the motivation you were talking about is that if you don't have a job, and Boko Haram say, look, we can give you 50,000 to go and prosecute war, the man feels that, look, even if I don't join Boko Haram, I'm going to die naturally. So it is better I take the 50,000 and die in war front than to even die here without the 50,000 naira. So now the motivation is that poverty, unemployment are some of the reasons why people are taking on arms. And I say it is good that all the arms of government must be on deck. Executive at both at the state, local, and the federal level must provide jobs for our teeming unemployed youth. That can reduce. But if you don't give them the job and you boost the economy, motivate the private sector to create jobs. So there's not only government alone that can only create a job. If you give that enabling environment, then we can have this issue reduced. But if we do not, no matter the appropriation, yesterday we had even some of our resolutions. All the security committees are going to audit both the armed forces, the police, the paramilitary. We want to know the assets and the ammunition and whatever that they have. So by the time we do that and finish, then you can call me for another discussion. So that we can...
But we hope we also include technology, because that's very critical that we talked about. I know that DIG Jitobo, you wanted to respond to some of the issues clear before we take the tweets. Okay. Just Jitobo, DIG.
I want to respond to the aspect that the general talked about PMF men, and you also talked about policemen being attached to private individuals. One, we should know that there are some specific private people that must be, who are entitled to police security, so we should not mix it up with every other person. And two, to put more boots on the ground also, the IG has directed that even all the men in the state headquarters and in the federal headquarters should be downsized. That we need more men, more boots on the streets, patrolling, because we are trying to we have come up with a robust way of a patrol where we want to employ every known part of patrolling that has been discarded. That's foot patrol, vehicular patrol, even bicycle patrol. So that we're trying to create this awareness of visibility policing, because there is assurance and there is this sense of security when you see a policeman. that at least no matter what, you are safe. So we want to create that awareness, that, and the only way we can do it is to withdraw men from unauthorized people, because now I will not say that some officers are not too clean, because some what we're trying to discourage, like what the general said, we're trying to discourage mercantile policing, where money is a factor. No, because one, as a police officer, you are paid to do your job. So you must do your job first. So that's why we're trying to withdraw men from every corner. The IG has I think there's a signal now where we are downsizing the state headquarters. That is those doing office duties. And even those doing office duties, there's a schedule now where they also go on routine checks, because one problem that we know we have is supervision. So we want to encourage supervision, where we're also going to place reward and punishment. These are ways to ginger the men. One, if you do your job well, you'll be motivated. If you don't do your job well, you will be punished.
Okay, DIG Jitabo, thank you. Let's quickly take our tweets. We have just a few minutes left to end our conversation. Festus Akiboyewa tweets, we need a dedicated, well-trained, well-equipped anti-kidnapping and anti-banditry forces in every state. We must also use technology to fight these dangerous criminals.
Abdul, I advocate the following: massive recruitment of security personnel, intensive training, strategic intelligence gathering, enhancing the welfare of the personnel, ensuring that they have adequate weapons. We should also consider the creation of state police.
And Law Alpha tweet is suggesting that government should declare a state of emergency on the security sector so foreign mercenaries can be hired. I think yesterday the House of Representatives, did call for this. Would also ask, if we do have time, ask Honorable Namdas why it has taken them.
That's for terror. I mean, some persons will say, Claire, I know that Honorable Namdas is here. Some of the issues raised by our guests this morning point to the fact that we have first to tackle our problems ourselves before reaching out for foreign help. That's right.
Precisely.
Yeah, Oladimeji Morufu, call on stakeholders to discuss and implement the outcome for lasting solution on security. We should not play politics with the lives of Nigerians. All right. Of course, Claire, you have others there, but Amasi Haruna. They are bemoaning. Yes, bemoaning. I just, because we are pressed for time, I just want to ask General Termlong. General Termlong, please let your answer not be an essay. Let it be very brief. I know that, it requires an essay response. At the strategic level, do we have a national consensus on the raging issues of insecurity in the country? I'm asking this because everywhere you go, you will hear separatist agitation, you will hear allegations of hegemonic interests, you will hear positioning for 2023. Do we have a national consensus so that once we articulate it, we say, oh, well, these are the bigger issues that we are looking at, so that people will not look the other way when crime and criminality are taking place? And if we don't have a national consensus, can we forge one on this issue?
Unfortunately, Kingsley, we don't have a national consensus on all this, like you rightly said. And, because even at that level, you find out that some governors are talking discordant tones. There is no national narrative, even as that it is. But I think we can forge a national consensus by that if we stop playing politics with national security. Because the moment you continue to play politics with national security, it becomes so problematic that crime is being politicized in terms of Tokyo of 2023. And unless you have a nation, you cannot govern a country that is already disintegrated. Even the separatist agitations like you're talking about, some of them are just based on perceived marginalization, and some are just being misguided. But if we have to build a nation, that's what I said, nationhood. we should be able to have a consensus, a national consensus, both at the strategic and the lower level. I thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you for keeping it short, General John Temlong, and also thanking you for joining us for this conversation this morning.
You're welcome, Claire. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And I also like to appreciate Major General Garuba Wahab, Director General, Nigerian Army Resource Center, and former General Officer Commanding 1 Division, Nigerian Army, Kaduna. Major General, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Moses Jitubo, Deputy Inspector General of Police, Department of Research Planning, Force Headquarters. Thank you, and good to see you again.
Thank you very much.
And finally, let me also appreciate Honorable Abdulrazak Namdas, Chairman, House Committee on Army. Thank you very much, Honorable, for joining us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, and that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. We do appreciate you always for sharing your time with us. Let's do it again, same time tomorrow.
I'm Kingsley Osadola, thanking you for being with us. Take care of yourself.